Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Is It Wrong Podcast with your host, me, Rey Parra. Make sure to hit the like button, make sure to subscribe and share. Add all your comments. We love the comments. Every time we have a special guest, there's different comments. We have a conversation. We have a great time, guys. Remember to get our merch. We got some cool t-shirts, some cool mechanic shirts, some hats, some buttons, some mugs, all kinds of real good stuff. But just stay tuned for today's guest. It's going to be a great one. Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of Is It Wrong? Today, guys, we have a special guest, Paul Roraback. It's PJ Bostic, A.K.A. Paul Roraback. And this guy, he's featured on many albums, many bands. He's done music for so long, been in praise team at church. He's played with guys like Bloodgood, Trytan, One Bad Pig, and that's just to name a few. And he's also lent himself out to studio work and a drum tech for Terry Bozzio, who was with Jeff Beck, Frank Zappa, and Missing Persons, but it didn't come without a price. But we'll get back into that later. But today, guys, we're just going to celebrate Paul and his new album, and we're just going to talk and have a lot of fun. Welcome to Is It Wrong? Paul, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome. We're excited to do this, man. We've been talking about it for a minute, haven't we?
Yeah.
And yet here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So Paul, how you doing, brother? I've seen you've been on like 5,000 podcasts recently.
Yeah, I've been way too shy about it. I've been afraid to reach out over the years because it's weird calling someone up or contacting somebody and saying, "Hey, can I be on your show because I'm so important," or whatever, and then I saw somebody a while back that had a message on Facebook or something saying, "We're no longer going to be inviting people onto our show. If you want to be on our show, let us know." And then it kind of hit me like, yeah, I guess, and everyone around me is telling me, I got to stop beating myself up. I have a little bit of the imposters syndrome thing going on, and I'm trying to get over that. And so part of it was I just finally reached out, and I found out it wasn't so scary. I reached out to some people for some podcasts, and y'all were happy to have me, and imagine that.
Yeah, it's funny.
So here we are.
Funny. Yeah, it's funny. It's like anything. Like you tell your kids growing up, don't be afraid to try that. Don't be afraid to try that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like dude. I'll tell you a quick little funny story. Maybe not our very first show. One of our first shows, we had the opportunity to open up for the Guess Who in Chicago. And I'm shaking in my boots, man. I'm like, gosh, we're going to play with the Guess Who. How are they going to receive us? We're a Christian band. And da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And you know what? We went on stage. Prior to going on stage, I'm in the bathroom and I'm going pee and I'm shaking, man. I'm freaking out, right? I go out there, go on stage, sang the first song, crowd reaction, and it was gone. The fear was gone. And it's just like this, wanting to be on a podcast with somebody. Once you do it, the fear's gone. When I first started this, me and Dave were like, all right, who should we get on? Let's try to get somebody on. Let's try. Then I would reach out to people. Dave would reach out to people, and we're like, man, what if they don't, and then you do it, and then all of a sudden it's natural. It's easy. But if you don't make those first steps, you never get anywhere with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like,
what's that?
And we're all just people, and something, I'll bring Immortal Fest into this. Maybe we're going to go there later in the podcast, but I developed a habit in the 90s. I did a lot of touring in the 90s with Grammatrain, 150 to 200 shows a year. Yeah. And there was so much, there's a lot of really great people in the Christian music industry, but there was so much attitude that I started just not even bothering, to hang with the other bands, because there's always going to be somebody in a band that's going to have an attitude, or there's going to be weird stuff going on. And now, unfortunately, because of that, I missed out on making a lot of great friendships. But I kind of expected that because I was away from the scene for a while. Immortal Fest last year with Trytan was kind of the first time in a while that I had been around a lot of Christian rockers, and I was kind of expecting, some attitude and this and that. And I was like, okay, I wonder who's gonna, but it was not like that. It was this wonderful family. I left there. I've told everybody this. I left there a better man than the person that I showed up as, just because of the company that I kept. So it was such a relief. And that is another thing. Immortal Fest also is kind of what helped me to come out of my shell a little bit and start talking to others and trusting people again, and not just assuming that if I reach out to someone, they're going to think they're too good for me, or, who's Paul? Like, why do I want him on my show? He's not cool enough or whatever, This is there's too much love going around right now for me to miss out on that again. So.
Yeah, bro. And Immortal Fest, there's a saying. Come on, Dave. What is it? Come as a stranger,
leave as a member of the family.
That's it.
Exactly. That's how I felt. That's totally how I felt.
And it's ironic. Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Immortal Fest, for a lot of people, it's more than just going and seeing the bands. It's a family reunion. It really is. Because a lot of us, we got friends from Facebook and whatnot, and Immortal Fest, that's the only time we get to see them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there last year, and I remember seeing there was a group of us. Do you remember the air guitar, the blow up air guitars during?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot it was going to happen. And then when they were all coming, I was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it's the air guitars."
Yeah. Ray's son Dylan and myself, we were one of the two people. There was a group of us that came out with the blown up guitars. I still have it. There's no air in it anymore, but I still have that thing. I kept it, and I think everybody signed it, Larry and you guys. But that was a lot of fun, man. And you guys were awesome. And I remember after that, coming back and sitting down with my wife, watching the rest of the set. And then when you guys busted out with that Rush medley, I was like, dude, that's awesome. You guys did like Tom Sawyer, and, I think you did Limelight also, stuff like that. But that was cool. That was cool because you definitely, anybody who's never heard Trytan, if you listen to Trytan, there is a real heavy Rush influence in the music. Yeah.
That's why we connected, because for at least 3 years, people kept telling me, you and Larry need to connect because you're like the two Christian Rush guys.
Yeah.
And of course I had the first Trytan album when it came out, and it was another like, well, why is he gonna want anything to do with me, And finally I saw a post from Larry, and I just added a little comment saying, hey, people keep telling me we need to connect. And he said, me too, bro. Like, people have been telling me that for years, So the first conversation we had, we really hit it off, and we just became really good friends after that. So it was just, this really should have happened a long time ago with Larry and I getting together.
Oh, Larry's a great guy, man.
Yeah.
He's a really great guy.
Yeah, man. He it's funny. You had sent me that the record, right? That you had and I listened to it, and the first song, Paul, that I listened to today, I can't remember the name of it, but I'm listening. It's got that little classical intro, and immediately I went to Triumph. Remember Triumph? Something's at the edge of your mind. That's what I was listening to when it was playing. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I made that connection really quick. Just like when you hear a lot of Larry stuff, you hear, Rush and stuff, and it's just crazy how whatever music you're in, whatever you have, somebody's going to associate something with that, And I thought it was, other than seeing you with Bloodgood and that, I really hadn't known you were from Paragon, and I really didn't make any kind of connections with you, not for anything other than I just didn't, you know what I'm saying? But as we started talking and I started listening to some of your stuff, I was like, man, that's great, And then even like at Immortal, didn't really hang, everybody's so busy, but I can tell you, moving forward, when I see you, I'm gonna give you a big old hug, man. We'll hang out, man. You smoke cigars? I'm a big cigar guy.
I used to. I'm not afraid to. I just I was
Yeah,
smoking them in the studio, and then I'd come back in the next day, and it would smell kind of smoky in here, and I didn't like how it smelled the next day. Well, okay, let me back up. When we were mixing the Flying album with Grammatrain, John Hampton was giving us these $40 cigars, and we're smoking them,
nice.
and that's for 2 months in the studio with him. So I come back to Seattle, and I think I'm a cigar smoker. So I go to 7-Eleven and I get a $3
Oh,
cigar, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna light up a cigar.
Swisher
It
Sweet.
tasted like a rolled up newspaper. And so, but I kind of liked that, and so I experimented a little bit with cloves, and then I vaped for a while. But especially when I'm mixing an album, I really used to like to have a cigar or a vape or something. But my kids really didn't like it when they were younger, and
sure,
so
yeah,
I didn't care that much about it, and so I just stopped for them. If it was something that made them uncomfortable, I just didn't want to do it, and so
yeah,
I
yeah,
still don't. But if we hang out, I'll have a cigar.
yeah.
We should
Kids
tell my kids.
nowadays, kids nowadays are smoking cigars filled with stuff, and it makes them do this.
Shut your trap.
Oh,
Now,
I think
Paul,
I'll have what they're having.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to ask you, do you ever get so jazzed up after, a gig that you get off stage and you go backstage and you're just getting down with your bad self like that?
I was usually too exhausted to do that.
Oh, I see. That's your pre-gig warm-up.
It was more before, yes. Excited to get out and play
Warm-up
and shake
time.
off the.
Shut your trap.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Anyways, you see, we try to stay serious on here,
Yeah, very serious.
but so listen. When you were working with Bloodgood, what was that like? Me and Les are great friends, and we have done some collaboration together.
Yeah.
on Deny the Fallen and on Worldview, but never gone out and toured with them or anything. What was that like working with those guys? Of course, Michael now is gone, but
Yeah. It was I had not toured before. I had played a lot locally with Paragon, but it was very exciting for me. I remember when we were crossing the state line, out of Washington into, I think it was Utah. That's when I felt official, like, okay, I'm officially on the road.
Tour.
But it went from, we did 4 shows in California, and then we did this show, I think it was in Utah, and it was in this little chapel, and we're kind of squeezing on this little stage. It even had the little white picket fence thing in front of it,
Oh man,
with the little opening. And so my drums are off to the side, right in front of this fence, and they're like, I think this is my 5th gig with them, and he's like, okay, Paul, you're going to have to be really quiet for this gig. And so, I just assumed all our shows were just, so here I am. I wasn't really trained to do this. So I'm trying to play, I'm just kind of tapping, and I'm trying to hit my bass drums really lightly. But Les is out there, here is your king, And it was huge. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to become a better musician to play with these guys, because if I'm going to have to play this quietly, this is really going to be hard for me. So that was probably my toughest gig with them, was that 5th eye opener. Most of them, especially the European gigs, were just, I got to play as loud as I wanted to, hit things as hard as I wanted.
I was gonna say, how can you play quietly when you want to rock out,
Well, it's hard when you have to play fast, because you're trying to get to something as quick as you can, and naturally that stick's going to be cruising at a pretty high speed to get there, and you got to slow it down when you get it there, and it's it's quite a technique you have to acquire there.
On those shows, did you bring everything like that kit that we see? Let me see.
I brought 2 bass drums.
Brought that whole kit. You can't really see it right there.
But I had a bunch. I had at least
really?
6.
So you probably took up most of the stage in that church, didn't you?
That's why I was kind of on the side, because it was only probably 10 feet. And so I was all the way to the side, and then the band, they were all kind of to my left.
Was there a lot of people there?
I don't remember. I just remember panicking the whole night, thinking I'm going to disappoint everybody by playing too loud.
It's
Give
crazy,
yourself some
man.
credit, man. You're awesome, dude.
Thank you,
Bro.
Well,
Paul.
it's gigs like that certainly helped me to become a better player.
Yeah. Without me, like I said, having any real prior knowledge of you, everything that I've researched and listened and seen of you, dude, you're an incredible artist.
Thank
You
you.
know, and you had said something in your bio that you consider yourself the what was that word, Dave? That he said
Overlooked. The overlooked.
The overlooked.
Yeah.
We're just curious, like, if you can elaborate on that, like why you consider yourself to be an overlooked musician.
Sure. And it's not coming from a place of self-pity or, it's just sort of a reality of the way things kind of work, unless somebody takes the effort to go after the one. I think I would say this is true for Christian rock and Christian metal, but even more so if an artist is going to start writing longer songs with some odd time signatures and getting creative to where you're not just writing catchy radio songs.
Right.
I technically I'm kind of a progressive rock artist, but the real prog guys would probably not call me a progressive rock artist. Those guys write 20-minute songs, and they're
Dream
a
Theater.
lot of keyboards and Dream Theater, yeah, and Yes, and
Yes. Oh my gosh.
even Rush. Like a lot of those guys would not consider Rush to be a prog rock artist, but they are,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I am, But I think so for worship in the church, we need the songs to be simple. We need to be able to kumbaya, row, row, row your boat. If you're at a campfire,
Yeah.
you want to sing something that everybody can start singing. And so
Right.
there's a necessity for music to be a certain way in the church.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, that has sort of taken everything over. And now Christian, like the movement, the underground circuit that used to be there in the 80s and the 90s sort of dwindled.
Mm.
And it seems to me that there's certain people like myself that can only could really I'm not saying God can't do anything, but generally speaking, there's different things that reach different people, and there's some people that you can reach through this music, through longer, drawn out, beautiful songs that some thought has been put into, and you're not afraid to make a 10-minute song.
Mhm.
I've never done that on purpose, but sometimes that's just what happens. And there's people that are drawn to that, and that kind of music is an experience for somebody, and they want to put on the headphones and they want to zone out, and they want, like, to me, music is supposed to be a distraction in the same way. Someone could take this wrong, but I even believe worship music is intentionally a distraction.
Mhm.
We're supposed to distract people from their lives, from their pain, whatever it is that's going on at home. It could be something good or it could be something bad, but let's distract them from all of that, bring their attention with all our whatever, if you've got
Usher
pretty
them in.
lights and whatever, but then we
Mhm.
reflect, like an angled mirror to God. We take that
Mhm.
distraction and we point them to Jesus and remind them to think about what they're reading and singing, and
Yeah.
at least try and mean it, and that's good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's all fine. So I'm not dissing on any of that kind of stuff. But I do think, because that's what common sense says, this is what's going to reach most people. Nobody's going to hire, or very few people are going to hire PJ Bostic or a metal band. They'll probably get a smaller crowd, but those people need to be reached. Like, someone needs to do that. And I do believe the church has the resources to do that. They could throw on a concert and just do their best, reach out to some different youth groups. If all of the youth groups were working together in Austin and just trying to throw a rock concert once in a while, maybe once a month or something, I know we would be reaching some people that maybe can only be reached through that kind of ministry. God will probably get through to them eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what I know that. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I say I know this firsthand, because that's how I was changed. I was a Christian, kind of floundering, trying to figure it out, and I saw this band. It's just a local band. An acquaintance of mine, who's a really good friend now, told me to go check them out, and I went, and they were good. And that's when I went, I want to do this for Jesus. I'm in. I'm all in. Let's go. And if
Mhm.
that works for me, then there's got to be other people out there that are the same way.
Yeah.
I would have never, I think, had that kind of an experience at a Crowder concert or something. All due respect to that. I would have had a good time. I would have worshipped. Would have been neat, but I wouldn't have been inspired to go, I'm going to go change the world. You know?
You know, it's kind of similar to that. You know, the band Skillet?
Mhm.
They used to be a praise team in church. I don't know if you know that.
Really? I didn't
That's
know
where they
that.
started. They were the praise team in church, and they decided to step out just like you. And look at them now; they're huge, man.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the guys in Striper, you know, in California, just going to church, loving Jesus, started a rock band. You know, Michael and Robert, and daring to go to the next level and daring to step out of the norm. You know what I'm saying? And it's our podcast. It's not for everyone. You know, just like your music, it's not for everyone, but you're going to reach people. Yeah. We reach people, and eventually it gets out. You look where Skillet's at now. You look where Striper's at now. Eventually we'll be saying, Dave, you remember when we had Paul on our podcast? Look at him now. It can do. God can do anything. There's no limit to what God can do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if your focus is on him and your focus is to ultimately bring him the glory through everything, there's no limit to what he can do through you, man. None.
That's my anthem. Like this whole process for me, since I decided I was going to do this, it has never made sense for me to do this. I didn't even know if I could. I didn't know if I could sing and write lyrics and write enough songs for a record. And I just, before I got right out here on my face and begged God with all my heart, soul, and mind. Just, God, please give me some lyrics, give me a voice, tell me what you want me to do. I didn't even care if it was complicated. I was willing to give up the glory of being a wonderful musician and play this guitar that at the time I could, in my opinion, could barely play. And but throughout album to album to album, God has he just kept providing for me, and I kept getting encouragement from the people around me, or letters. My family has been behind me. And I just, one thing that God has done for me throughout the years, he doesn't always tell me what I'm supposed to do, but there's been times, and I've learned, he'll tell me no. If I'm moving on something, I'll just feel it. God's saying this is a bad idea. And I've learned to listen to that voice, because when I haven't, I've regretted it every single time.
Fall on your face, don't you?
Yeah. And so recently I kind of felt like God is saying, Paul, I keep like fleecing him, sort of, like, God, will you give me a sign, and will you just show me, will you? And he has, through all the encouragement and stuff, but it hit me like, I don't know if he was saying this or if it was just me making sense out of it all, but I felt like God would just say, Paul, have I ever told you to stop? Have I ever put it on your heart to stop doing what you're doing? And that was such a relief for me, because I think he would. I really think he would tell me if it was time to quit.
Yeah, and what's funny about that too is something you just said here a minute ago. You're like, Lord, give me a sign, and there's so many times he's given us so many signs, but we're walking around like this, Yeah. That joke, the guy's drowning, the house is flooding.
Yeah.
And so ultimately God says, dude, I send you 2 boats and a helicopter. What you want me to reach down and grab you by the hand, And I think that comes with maturity, Paul. As you mature in Christ, which obviously you are, you tend to be more sensitive to the things of the Spirit. You know what I mean? You can feel sometimes when God is tugging at your heart in the positive way and in the negative way, when he's saying, don't do that, you know? And it comes with maturity. It's like this. I was laying in bed this morning praying, and I was asking the Lord for something specific. And I said in my heart, I said, Lord, I know that the relationship that I have with you is one that I feel good in my heart when I'm asking for something, when I'm asking, not like, I need a new car, or so, you know what I'm saying, but something that I feel like you're actually listening to what I'm saying, because I have that communication with you, versus somebody who's not ever praying and, all right, Lord, we're going to go do this concert. Let the house pack out and this and that. And that's just words. That means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but if you're connected with God, just like with your girlfriend, your wife, you know, you can't expect relationship with your wife if you every day you're like, hey, what's for dinner? Did you do my laundry? Hey, let's go in the bedroom. And, you know, it doesn't work like that, man. It's you know, but anyways, I went off on a tangent there, but
Yeah. Oh, that's all valid, man.
yeah, man.
Except I think I'm usually the one that's the, you know, she's like, hey, where's my dinner? I'm the cook, not a
Are you?
chef, but I'm
Oh,
the cook.
nice.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
Well,
Hot
it changes.
dogs.
I've been grilling a lot. Like I did last night. We had hot dogs.
Nice.
For the was it last? No, it was Sunday night for the Super Bowl. But I like making Tex-Mex, and I like grilling. I like grilling anything. Just someone gave me a gas grill, and I cook on it all the time. I love grilling stuff.
Dude, I love smoking. I smoke
Oh,
turkeys and this. I'm a smoker, man.
have you ever smoked a brisket?
I have.
I love
I'm,
brisket.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have award-winning wings, award-winning ribs. Can I open up this bad boy here? Oh, nice. Nice. You see they're coming along just great. So I'm going to spritz them now, like I was saying in my video. Little apple cider vinegar. And I'm only going to do this one time. Spritz them pretty good. Get some of that moisture in there. I cannot freaking make a great brisket. I've tried and tried. I don't know what it is. I think it's in my head, and it gets to me when I'm cooking and prepping. My brisket tastes great, but I can never get it to the point where it renders the fat where you can just cut it and you just I don't know what it is. If I go too long, then it
brisket's
burns.
tough.
It is, man.
Did you make a video? Did I see you do a video
On my
cooking?
ribs? Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I saw that.
Dude, I've had so
like,
many
right on.
people actually follow my recipe and send me pictures of their ribs and say, dude, these are the best ribs I've ever cooked. My friends love them. They're like, you know, and I have a friend of mine who was on Barbecue Pitmasters who won one season. He taught me how to make his ribs. So those really aren't even my ribs, other than I changed my recipe a little bit, you know, but yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, next time I make ribs, I'm calling you then.
Yeah, bro. Just watch the video. But at the end of the video, you will have to message me for one thing, and I'll tell you on that video. You'll have to watch it.
Okay.
So yeah. Hey, but let me ask you this. You know, you had talked about being on the road and being a drum tech and stuff, a studio drummer and everything. Did that literally draw you away from church and your walk with the Lord, or what kind of effect did that really have on your life? Was it superficial, or were you just like, I don't need the Lord right now, or kind of?
No, it was sneaky because I was just trying to provide for my family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I toured for a few years with Terry Bozzio, which took me away from my family and threw me out in the world. And Terry, it's not like Terry was leading some kind of crazy lifestyle. It was pretty mellow. It was just I was just away from my family. You know, Terry's a great guy. I never had any problems with Terry. He was very easy to work for and a good friend. And I toured for Monty Montgomery, he's a local artist. He's in Texas, guitar legend, just amazing musician, and some other people. And so the Bozzio gig and the Monty Montgomery gig were both high profile gigs, and they both paid really well. They were both prestigious and made me feel good about myself, especially when I was out playing, you know, with Monty.
Of course.
And you know, we were out a lot, and we were out on a bus, and it was really good pay. And but at some point, you know, my walk was just getting, you know, like I would say something on the bus, and one of the guys would go, wow, that's like the Christian that said that. And that's kind of when it started hitting me, because he was right.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't acting like a Christian. And I when I was home, there was a friend of mine that I would have a Bible study with on Tuesdays. And at this particular one, I was praying with him. I said, my walk is just plummeting. I've just gotten so far away from God. I don't even know when it happened. It's just, I'm not acting like a Christian, and I need to know. There was some fear. I was afraid to quit
Yeah.
because it was good money, and I'm providing for my family. I'm thinking, okay, so if Jesus was here, would he say, Paul, I want you to man up and get back in there and be a man of God? Or would he say, you have no business being out there
Mm.
uh, without being surrounded by other believers? And it's nobody's fault but mine. I'm not saying all these people I was with were heathens or anything. It was just it's all
Right.
my
Right.
fault. And I said, I just need to know. I need to know if I'm taking this for granted, if I'm gonna walk away from something that God's blessed me with. And I just needed to hear from God on it. Like I needed direction from God. And I was completely willing to do whatever I felt like God was gonna tell me. And I didn't know if he would tell me. Maybe I just sometimes he wants us to use our common sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, but while we were praying, the phone rang and I just let it go to voicemail. And then my friend David left, and I answered the phone, and it was Monty, and he said, "Hey man, you know, I think we're gonna go with a more eclectic drummer, you know."
Oh
And
wow.
he was right. You know, I'm not super eclectic, and so I could tell uh, he didn't want to tell me this. I think he had a speech, you know, but I think he was kind of surprised that I kept going, Monty, it's cool, man. Like it's okay. You know, I was just praying about this, and we're good, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and so, like I said, no fault of anybody's but mine. But so that was when I said, okay, enough is enough. Like, am I in or am I out? And
Mm-hmm.
I started writing, and I kind of went through my you know, I've been in all these bands, and it's really terrible for the drummer when a band breaks up because the singers usually can have a solo career or everybody knows their name, but
Mm-hmm.
not everybody knows the name of the drummer, and you're trying to get work, and it's just harder, and it's so hard, you know, to start a band
Mm-hmm.
and make all the sacrifices you make when you're in a band, and then to have the whole thing just dissolve, and you're back to square one, starting a new band, trying to get it off the ground, and the whole thing starts all over again. So I decided I'm just gonna write music and front the band, and I didn't know where the money was going to come from to pay for production. I didn't know how to mix or anything, and all I knew how to do was answer my email on the computer. I'm not a techie guy. I do not like tech, but by the
Yeah.
grace of God, I truly believe because I begged and He saw my heart. He gave me the ability to learn the tech and to mix albums, and I got the gear over years. You know, sometimes I would rent, but I've accumulated the gear and put these albums out that have meant something to some people. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of taking it one album at a time. And every time I do an album, I don't know if I'm going to do another one.
You know
And
what's really cool
we'll
about
see.
what you said right there? That really, um, I guess I'll say it like this: when we, as Christians, as godly men and women of Christ, you know, a lot of times people are like, I don't go to church, I don't this, you know, I have my own walk with the Lord, and you know that's all good. But you know, the word says, "Don't forsake the church." Right? The church is not the building; it's fellowship.
Mhm.
And if you find yourself surrounded with unbelievers, whether they're heathens and partying and going crazy, or they just don't have the same beliefs, where you're going to be, you know, looking at the Lord and everything you do and stuff. Not that there's, you know, real world. We walk around with real eyes. You know, don't walk around with blinders. But as you pull yourself away from that, it becomes easier and easier to let your guard down. And like you said, it was
Mhm.
nothing planned. You didn't say, "Hey, I'm gonna just walk away from the Lord, man." It wasn't that. It was just you let your guard down. All of a sudden, stuff's coming in. You're not praying. You're not. I mean, hypothetically, I don't know the whole situation, but like you said, you found out that you weren't really in communion with the Lord. You know, and that's
Yeah.
so powerful. That's why I always tell people, man, you know, go to church. Even though church is a building, go, because you're going to meet fellowship. You're going to meet
Mhm.
people, you know, and it's a good thing, you know, and especially in the music, in artists, when we're on the road all the time, read your Bible, pray, you know, encourage
Yeah.
one another. You know what I'm saying? So that's actually really powerful that you said that in that bio you sent me, because it is
Yeah.
important.
And on that note, when when Grammatrain broke up, I spent so much time on the road, and you know how this goes. You're playing all these different churches. You meet again. I don't want to. So many great people, but you tend to remember the wacky ones because it's more shocking. and
Dave.
that's why you remember that. And there was so there was so much, like someone would prophesy over us, and then the next gig, someone else would prophesy a completely different prophecy that was
Of course.
counter the other one.
Yeah.
And so after a while, you just blow all of them off, and people that it's the lingo was getting to me. Praise God. God led me to that 25% coupon, and I saved 25% on milk. Praise God. And I prayed for a parking spot, and the Holy Spirit led me to the spot right up front. And everything is just so over spiritualized that I didn't know who was for real and who was fake, and I don't think they meant to be. I think they just get caught up in the lingo, and now suddenly you're led to do everything. And
They're
when I say
speaking.
God led me, what's that?
They're speaking. We used to call it Christianese.
Dude, Dave,
Christianese, yeah.
I want to show you something. As you were just saying that, I just wrote that down here, Christianese. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. And so
It's funny, man.
when Grammatrain broke up, I didn't go to church for a while, not because I knew there was no lone Christian, and I knew how important it was for me to be in fellowship.
Sure.
But I went through this stage, and I wasn't the backsliding or anything. I was just like, okay, I know I need to go. I'm just not ready. Or we'd kind of go to a church, and no, and but I did finally find a church that basically they said, if you're disgruntled against the church, come check us out. Something like that. It was in the Yellow Pages, and so we went. And I told the pastor, I told him what was going on in my life.
Was that the Church of Anton LaVey?
No.
Oh man. Oh,
But
sorry.
I found good fellowship, and I realized church isn't just. I mean, we do receive in church, but it's also like I try to tell people you're there because people need you too. You have something to offer.
Yeah,
So
man.
if you're in that lone Christian state, you're missing out. But someone else is missing out too. So go, and if it's not it doesn't have to be the perfect church, but go
Right.
and see what you can do to make it better or change somebody's life. And if you have to keep your eye out for another church that you're a little more comfortable with, as long as there's nothing weird or heretical going on in the church that you're at, fine. But try to find a church you can lock into, and it's about that family, and get involved in like a men's group or something like that's where
Absolutely.
you really start seeing change, and
Absolutely,
making
man.
relationships and stuff.
Thanks for sharing that, man. But so let's talk about this new record you got.
Okay.
Who's all in it? What's it about? What are the themes? Here's something I like to ask people. When you do the record, what do you say, okay, this song has to be the first song, and this song, and this one, the last one? I know why we do it, how we do it, but I like to ask other people just what all encompasses that. And let's talk about the style and who you got in it and all that kind of good stuff.
Okay. Well, generally speaking, on my albums, I play everything. Sometimes I'll get a guest here and there to do something. I'm very excited to have Phil Keggy on this. He's playing on a song about the. It's funny. I started writing this song, and it was just kind of writing itself, and it was about the prodigal son. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't want to do a prodigal son song. This is just so overdone. It's just going to be so cliche, but it just felt so right, and the way it was coming about, I just really liked this song. So, and I've been wanting to ask Phil for a long time to play, but this time I knew this was the one. And I'm not going to say God told me that he was going to say yes and be on it, but I just felt so right. I just had a feeling that this was going to come about. And I dare not say that was prophetic, but I just really felt that way. I just put him on Facebook. Anybody know how I can get in touch with Phil Keggy? And a friend of mine got in touch, said, yeah, we're friends. So what's up? And so I said, I really like him play on the song. And so he connected us. And luckily he is somebody who has followed my music. So I had an advocate going to Phil saying
Sure, yeah,
a lot of nice things about me, and the solo's beautiful. He did a really nice job on it.
the guy's incredible.
So he's on it. Jeff Schrantz from Paragon is doing a solo on it. And my good friend J.R. Taylor, who I've worked with for years, he's been with me since the beginning. He's been in my corner. I
Nice.
call him the wolf. He's the guy I call when my gear breaks down, and he knows how to come up and show me. Eventually he said, dude, you just need to get a Mac. My PC kept breaking down all the time, Yeah.
Dude, Max, I've been telling Dave, how long have I been telling you that?
I know. I need to get one. They're
Get
just
a Mac.
expensive, man.
Well,
Yeah.
but think about it. The stability of the
The
Mac.
stability is worth
Yes,
it. You just, the
dude.
nightmares go away. Most of them go away.
Yeah. You're not going to get any viruses. You're not going to get hacked. I mean, it's great, bro.
Yeah.
It's great. But
So as far as the lyrics go, I've never been more excited about an album lyrically than this one. In fact, this is the first time I've been as excited, or maybe more, about the lyrics than the music, because I've always asked God. I've always wanted to write a worship album to start with, but when I write worship music, it sounds to me contrived. Now,
mhm.
I've written songs that came from prayers, so you could
Oh
say they're
yeah,
worshipful, but I just want to, I tend to rant, and I offer hope, but anytime I'm preaching in my music, I'm usually preaching to myself. I'm writing about something I'm going through. And so, I mean, there's a lot of good content, but I just wanted to write music that someone could sing the chorus driving down the road and be lifted up. And I've
yeah.
never necessarily been that kind of a writer, but because of where I was at in my life when I wrote the lyrics for this, I had just left. There's a church I was at for 18 years,
Mm.
and they had started becoming more, we'll just say, liberal, and the red flags in the teaching, and I knew at some point I needed to go. And I was afraid. Here in Texas, um, people look at musicians like any other contractor, so we actually get paid here for stuff, and it goes for the church too. And because I was there for so long, they were paying me very well. And again, I was afraid. This was our grocery money, and I was I was afraid. I was thinking, am I supposed to stay here and try and change something? Do I just trust God and go? What's the right way to go about this? Because it's getting very uncomfortable.
Mm.
They never completely went off the edge, but I think it's coming, for if they haven't
Yeah,
already. This was a couple years ago.
yeah,
So I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, talked to my wife about it a lot, talked to a few of the other people that I trusted in the church, and they were with me on this. We agreed. I finally left and took a step of faith, and the growth in the next year while I was writing lyrics for this, the things that God did in my life, and the growth spurt that I had since I got out of there was amazing.
mm.
And I felt just really free, and my lyrics just sort of reflected it. I'm still ranting. I still rant about some stuff, but there's always still there's still hope. Here's my problem, and here's the answer. It's Jesus.
Sure,
You
yeah,
know, um, the healing comes tomorrow. I'm upset right now. I'm hurt. I'm not doing well,
right,
but I can get through this because healing comes tomorrow, and I know God's going to work through this for whatever is best, and I can trust
right.
him. And so I couldn't believe that I was writing these lyrics that were so uplifting,
Mm.
and because usually in order for me to get out my pen, I have to be sort of distraught or very emotional, just really,
Oh yeah,
but this time I was just a little more emotional about the good things that were going in my life. And so it's like tracking a part of my life. So very excited about the lyrics. Hopefully I'm offering some hope in the midst of all this crazy stuff going on in our country and around us. There's
yeah.
hope in all of this. So
So
Dave,
the
did you
new,
have some?
yeah.
what's that?
So I see here in your bio, the new album is called "Hope in the Winter Stage," and it's coming out in April.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome.
I don't have a date. I'm afraid to sign a date because it's been pushed back so many times because of problems. So
Well, where would people be able to get that when it's released? You got
Hey,
like
I
a
gotta excuse
website or
myself
something?
for 1 second. All right, guys, I'll be right
all
back.
right. www.pjbostic.com or paulroraback.com. Either one of those. Go to the same
Okay.
site. I'm sure that Matthew Hunt is going to pick some of these up too. He's at Retroactive, and he recently picked up some of my last 2 CDs, and we're working out a deal to have him reissue my first 2 CDs, which are out of print right now. So I'm sure
So
he'll pick some of those up too.
your first one I see here, Bullies at the Border in 2009, 3-minute song in 2013. Then you got Light Me On in 2015, Faith of Least Resistance in 2022. So this is going to be album number 5, the new one. Wow.
Yeah.
So is this new album, is there like musically, lyrically, theme? Is it? I guess what I'm trying to ask is like, does it differ from your past albums, or is it more? Gosh, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's evolved.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd say it's evolved.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain how it's evolved. It's to me, I think the songwriting is better. It's I mean, there's heavy moments with big chunky heavy guitars, and there's moments where it lightens up, and there's really big, beautiful, cleanish guitars and some nice harmonies and stuff. So it's still, something people say to me from time to time is your records all sound kind of different, but it still definitely sounds like you.
Mhm.
And that's perfect. Like I don't want to write the same record over and over again. So, and especially as a guitar player, I'm very established as a drummer, but with my songwriting and guitar playing, I feel like I'm still learning a lot. I have a lot to learn. And so it makes sense that my songwriting and my ability on guitar would change over the years, because I'm kind of the new guy, when it comes to guitar. I'm still learning and acquiring all kinds of knowledge and tricks and stuff. So I have such a long way to go.
But it's pretty cool, that you branched out, and you're learning other instruments. Like, I mean, yeah, you're known as a drummer, but you branched out and now you're doing guitar. You're also playing guitar. Is there any other instruments that you take on along with drums and guitar? Like, do you do bass or piano, keyboards, things like that?
Yeah, bass. I mean, keyboard light. I dabble on keyboards, and the keyboards in my songs are pretty simple.
Okay.
I could teach any beginner probably to, hold the note down for 4 beats, and then you hold this one down, and occasionally there's a little noodling or something.
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty simple stuff. The keyboards are an afterthought. It's guitar, drums, and bass driven, and then occasionally I do love some pads to fill things. I love how bands like Rush would just use a little bit of pad in the background, not go too crazy. They went a little crazy later, but to me that's a perfect balance. Just a nice little pad in the background to help carry the music.
So along with your solo albums, are you going to be doing anything more with Trytan?
Yeah, we're booked for Immortal Fest
Mm-hmm.
on the 31st, Sunday, I believe. This is we're just having faith. Jim and Larry and I, I have a severe case of frozen shoulder, and I think I'm just coming out of phase 1, which is the painful stage. I'm still in a lot of pain, but it has come down a little, and I got
Mm-hmm.
I got a steroid shot, and it's supposed to kick in by maybe Thursday or so. So we'll see.
Steroid
Today's really the
shot?
first day. Yeah, what's it called?
Your arms are going to be huge by Immortal Fest then if you're taking steroids, man.
I don't think that's the kind of steroid thought.
It's only going to be one. His right arm will be like this, and his
Yeah.
left arm will be like this.
What is that
smoothie.
called when you get the when they give you that shot and that reduces the inflammation?
Yeah.
It's called doesn't matter. But so actually today is the first day that I'm planning on. I've got my kit all mic'd up and everything, but I'm going to rip everything off. I've got to pull some stuff out and lower some of my cymbals, because my right arm spends a lot of time up in the air. I've got my chan over there and gong drum and all this stuff, and it just spends way too much time up and over, and I got to bring everything down and tuck everything in. And so I'm going to spend the next week probably revamping my kit, and then I'm hoping to focus and just start hitting it hard. I'm trying to, I've had a hard time trying to hold a band together to play live. It's hard to find somebody who's willing to learn the PJ Bostic material, because if someone's going to work that hard, they deserve to get paid. And honestly, I just can't afford to pay them what you would be worth to have to learn this kind of music, because it is very difficult. And so I decided I'm just going to record myself playing the songs, and then grab a bass player and a guitar player and play places where there's a screen, and I'll just be on the screen and I'll play the tracks. I'm not a fan of playing the tracks per se. I think they're cool for some things, to fly in some, if you need to fly in some harmonies or some cool keyboards or some triggers or something,
Yeah.
I think it can be very artistically done. But this is the only way I think I can play live. And I ran it by some friends at Immortal Fest, and I've been running it by some of my peers. And like me, everybody kind of goes, "Huh? Well, let me think about that. I don't know." And then by the time we kind of sort out, it's like, actually, I think that could be very cool. Using technology and just kind of making it. For me, when you hit a threshold,
Mm-hmm.
instead of compromising and making it an obvious compromise, whatever that compromise is, you do it as if that was your intention from the beginning, and you make it great.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm going to try and do here. I'm going to try and make this very intentional, and then if I find a drummer, great. I'd love to be able to go do some shows, but I just don't know who's willing to and able to play the PJ Bostic stuff. I feel kind of weird saying that, because it's like I'm patting myself on the back, but I kind of
I was
shot
gonna
myself in
say,
the foot.
I was going to say I'd pat you on the back with your hands in the way. Because
It's really hard. Oh, that hurt. See, got us punching. I'm such a great drummer. No,
hey, since we're talking about technology really quick here,
Yeah.
I've noticed more and more bands are using it, and I had this conversation with
a lot of people are against a lot of people have bashed that, using backing tracks.
The backing tracks and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you need it. Sometimes if you can use the backing tracks and sing with them, and it's not, the artist is not performing, it's the tape, that's when it becomes, the threshold.
Yeah, when it's too obvious.
Yeah. But I think it's good. But technology, honestly, realistically, even in writing, we have so many tools nowadays, so many plugins. You can write your drum tones on the keyboard here. You know what I'm saying? Then present them to your drummer and say, "Here's that." Or you being the drummer that you are. Yes.
Sorry, my phone's gonna die. Let me plug it in real quick. Okay, I'm sorry. I know this is unprofessional. I thought it would last longer.
No worries. Hey, Dave, now that he's not on screen, no.
I can hear you.
Oh, shoot. Feels like we're at a circuit.
Welcome to the circus.
Come on.
I know. Every time you play that, I start rocking out. I'm like, yeah.
Man, I'm like literally 2 inches short. Let me pull this thing out a little further. See if I can get it here a little bit. Oh, I think that might do it.
So what you were sitting in, are those movie theater chairs?
Yes, they are.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, yeah.
That's the church pews, bro.
They are church pews. I was going to put literally a pew over here. I thought it'd be cool. Just for bands to sit in, or people that are listening to their
put some cup holders on there and stuff too. Yeah, there you go. Get some cup holders.
Yeah, I shouldn't be telling anybody this, but I did a really bad thing. I went to go see Rush it was their last tour up in Toronto, and I didn't know they were filming it. They were filming it, so I'm sitting there, and I've got my drink in the cup holder, and I pull my drink out, and the cup holder popped out with it, and so I took it. And so I have it in here. I do have a cup holder, and it's got I have a pass. I got a backstage pass to meet Alex and Getty, and so it's on the little cup holder. And
we're not going to tell anybody, bro.
Don't tell anybody.
We don't have to tell anybody. He just told them.
The Toronto Coliseum's up there going, "That's the guy that took it."
Dude, you want to hear funny stuff?
You're going to send me a bill.
We want our cup holder back.
Yeah, right.
We want it back now today.
Before we got saved, me and Tony and Bruce, we went to a Iron Maiden concert. at Navy Pier in Chicago. And we got there and the show was sold out. We didn't have tickets. We're like, man, well, if you've ever been to Navy Pier, it's literally like walking on a fishing pier, but it's huge, you know. But there was these little outlets, like these little stem walls that had like an 8-foot tall fence on it. So it only went out into the water like maybe 30 feet. And we're like, you know what? We can hang on to the fence and walk around this thing and walk back around and get in. So we're like, you want to do it? Before I could even finish do it, Tony's already on the wall and then Bruce, and I'm like, let's do it. So we went in, we got in, we're inside the show, and Maine was getting ready to play, and we figured everybody's standing on their chairs. Let's cut up and down the aisles and work our way to the very front, right? So we did that, and then all of a sudden, we're like, here's front row, and the people in the front row are standing on their chairs, and we're standing in the aisle behind them, and Tony Velasquez decides he's going to like sneak in between two people's legs and peek out. So he kind of does that, and he peeks out. All of a sudden, boom, he's gone. I'm like, what the heck, man? I thought he tripped and went in, and then Bruce does it, and he's gone. I'm like, what the heck? So I do it. As soon as I peek through, some guy grabbed me from the back of my shirt, pulled me in, and they grabbed all three of us, beat us up, and kicked us out.
Bye-bye, white girl.
Your titties are see my neck shit, bro.
So
were they security? Like
they were security. Yes,
Oh,
sir. So they must have saw that we snuck in.
Did they
and all
see
that.
you sneak? Oh, okay.
I think so. But the funny part, the reason I'm telling you that is after the show, Maidens, they're done now. They open up the gates. You can walk in and out. We walked in there. Now here we are, a bunch of knuckleheads, jump up on stage, and they still had some of their direct boxes and cables and stuff. So I had a direct box. It said Steve Harris, had duct tape on it. It said Steve Harris, the bass player. So I'm like, man, I'm taking this, man. You know, this is pre-Christ days. So I took it, brought it to practice. We used it for a long, long time. And then we all got saved. And then after getting saved, I decided that I was going to take that box, that direct box, put it in a box, send it to those guys, and just say, sorry, man, I stole this from one of your shows, you know? And so I did. I put it in a box and I sent it back, and I don't know, they probably, you know, whatever. They probably got it and said, oh, that's the knucklehead who took it, you know, or something. I don't know.
They're going to remember that time they were sound checking and they couldn't. Where's the direct box? They fired somebody over it.
Yeah.
Well, you and I would have. It's a good thing we weren't friends growing up. Well, you and I would have gotten in a lot of trouble. Right?
Oh,
that's the kind of thing I've got.
If you had weed, if you had weed, we were friends. Trust me. That was a big pothead, man.
You know, that's reminding me of there's a show that Grammatrain played. We were touring with Petra. I was on the Saltbox tour. And you know how it is. After a while, you kind of know that if you look confident and you've got all your tags and your flashlight and you look legit, people will just let you walk in.
Sure,
and so the Red Hot Chili Peppers were playing. There's two Coliseums in Seattle. There's the Key Arena, and then there's like the hockey arena and the basketball arena. And they're walking distance. And the Chili Peppers were playing next door. So we're like, let's just see if we can. It's during the day. We're like, let's just go walk in and see if, you know, we can just walk in. So sure enough, we just kind of look official. We don't make eye contact. We're just talking, you know, we just walk in. We're going everywhere. We're rocking all around. And then finally this girl sees us and she goes, excuse me, can I help you? And we're like, oh man, we're going to get kicked out. And we're like,
we're with the band.
Sorry. We're like, we're playing next door and we just wanted to come check it out. She's like, who are you playing with? And we said, Grammatrain. She goes, I wanted to be at your show tonight, but I had to work. And so the one person that ran into us was a Grammatrain fan. So she told us, come back tonight and have them radio me and I'll get you in. So we go and we're playing second. So we do our thing and then we run over there and she brings us to a suite. Well, first she during the day when we were there, she brought us to their dressing room and she said, they're in there and they're meditating, and she showed us the stage and everything. And she said, you guys can go in there if you want, you know, I'll leave it up to you. I'm not going to stop you if you want to go in and say hi, but you know, they are meditating, but we didn't go in. But so we come back and she let us watch from a suite. She gave us this like little private suite and she said, just don't drink the alcohol. So, I mean, of course we didn't. So we just watched from there and it was an amazing show, of course, but it was just kind of cool. You know, the one person that that we ran into was
Yeah.
a Grammatrain fan and got us in. And she ended up getting my dad. We were on the road, but she got my dad. That was the year that the Sonics were in the playoff. What do they call it in basketball? It's not
I'm
playoffs,
not
right?
a
It's
basketball fan, so
boy, someone's gonna tear me up.
championships.
Final
The
Four.
championships, yeah, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So,
when they play to
he
see
got
who's
go.
going to go to the Super Bowl of basketball. How's that sound?
I think they were playing the Bulls. I think they were playing the Chicago Bulls. I'm not sure.
Oh, they lost. Sorry. But that's cool, man.
It was a long time ago.
Cool. Dave, you got anything else, brother?
I think we pretty much covered it, man. While you stepped away, we talked about the new album and
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Yeah. You know, when nature calls, it calls. It's like, Ray, go now. You go now.
And you go now. You here 4 hours. Why you here 4 hours?
Party.
I drink so much water. And,
I do too.
And coffee. Man, I swear every couple hours I'm in there, if you know what I mean.
Oh, it's important to be hydrated. So
It is. It really is. Dude, sometimes like at work, I walk around all day for work, right? I'm a construction manager.
Mhm.
If I don't drink a lot of water, I start cramping. I'm like, but every other day I drink a ton of water. Today I forgot water and I just start cramping. I don't get it. It's got nothing to do with this. But
well,
anyways,
is it wrong not to drink
is it
water?
wrong? Very, very, very wrong. Very wrong. Is it wrong to sneak into a chili pepper show?
This is my second cup of water right here, and I'm almost done with it.
That's it. Dave, go fill it up 3 more times in the next 10 minutes.
Okay.
Dave's like, I swear, this just water.
Yeah.
It's my shine.
I only had 2 drinks.
Oh my gosh.
4 times.
Or that old joke. Hey, Mr. Budweiser, I haven't had too many officers tonight.
Yeah, there you go. Excuse me, Saucifer. Was I speeding?
I'm home. Take me drunk.
Oh man, Paul, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry you had to see that.
I did see it. I can't unsee that now. I'm
you
afraid
know,
I'm going to have to go to another podcast.
dude, this is something funny. I sent Larry. You know, Larry's my other guitar player in Sacred Warrior, and I'm also on Worldview. And we had just got done mixing one of the songs for the new Worldview record, and I sent it to Larry, and he listens to it, and he calls me back, and I go, "So what'd you think, bro?" He goes, "Well, that's 6 minutes of my life I'll never get back."
Oh,
You didn't like it?
No, he loved it. He loved
Okay.
it. But him and I are always busting on each other, man.
Yeah.
If we're not,
Worldview, I got to say. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say that Larry, I bust on Larry, and he busts on me more than anybody else.
Yeah.
It's yeah. What were you gonna say about
If
Worldview?
you got to dish it out, you got to take it. Worldview
That's
caught me
right.
by surprise.
Really?
I gotta say, like, I didn't know much. I just heard that it was good. I'm like, oh, Worldview, you got to see Worldview. And so I'm just hanging out with friends and we're watching. And I think I asked you afterwards if you had perfect pitch.
Right.
Yeah, you're. If I kind of wanted to tell you this before we were doing this, so I wouldn't look like I'm just, We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're scum. We suck. But I was so impressed, man. The vocals were so spot on, and the energy was through the roof. Like, Chef's Kiss. That was very well done. Very well done.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Worldview last year, honestly, hands down, was one of the best performances. I'd say one of the top 3 of all the bands.
Praise God, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We try hard, man, and I spend most of my time with Sacred Warrior, and but with Worldview, it's kind of a little different because we have Crystal and she's younger, and
that was
I
an
don't know,
awesome
she
addition,
just-
man.
oh yeah, and wait till you hear her singing on the new record, man. Man, just some of the stuff she's doing, just incredible.
Mhm.
But-
Your voices sounded so good together.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what everyone was saying, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. She's a little firecracker, man. I told her before the show, I said, Crystal, you need to be my hype girl. She goes, are you sure? I said, I'm sure. And boy, was she the hype girl, right? It was great.
Yeah,
she was great. She seemed very comfortable.
Yeah, she's a natural, man. In fact, she's part of the Pastor Bob's church thing, sanctuary. Yeah, and they do, our version of Holy Holy in their church, and I seen it probably the first time I had ever heard of her, and I was like, man, that chick can sing, bro. And she's like you said, PJ, she's just so confident and just And you know who her husband is, right? He's the son of Glenn Mancaruso from Vengeance.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Drummer. Yeah. They just got married recently, which I'm working on getting Vengeance on the podcast. Glenn and Larry probably going to be the only two on there. Maybe Doug. Them guys are just all so busy as well. But I told Glenn the other day, I said, if y'all don't hurry up, I'm going to get to a point where we're going to be so big, you're going to be asking me, and I'm going to say, Vengeance who? Do I know you?
$5. You have penny?
There you go. But PJ, anything you want to say that we haven't talked about, just in closing to anybody that you haven't said 1,000 times already?
Go to Immortal Fest. Come see what's happening. If you haven't been there, there really is something special going on there. I can't say enough about it. I didn't know what to expect. I went in there not just with an open slate, like I'm playing with Trytan. We're just going to go play, and I just had no idea. It was what an amazing.
And what are your
experience
websites again? PJ Bostic.
PJ Bostic. Okay. Yeah, and PaulRoraback.com.
There you go.
And we'll post them when we edit the video and put it out. We'll post them. Hey, and the one last thing too is stay encouraged, bro. You're doing a fantastic job.
Yes.
Thank you.
Don't let anybody beat you down or put any doubt in your head, man. And just keep doing what you're doing, man. You know what I mean? And God's going to use it. He's going to use it. So
I appreciate that. I'll take it.
Yeah, man. So when we're done, hang in for a minute. But guys, listen.
Okay.
We just spent an hour with PJ, man. Great guy. Go check out his new record when it comes out. Check out his website. Encourage him, and also come to Immortal and check him out with Trytan again. You won't be disappointed.
And is it wrong? Like, share, subscribe. It helps us out, guys.
Yes, absolutely. Until next time, guys. Peace.